what can these guys from their experience bring to bear on your program right now and our people here?
What would you say is the most practical step for people right now, wherever they're at in their life, to achieve what you have?
To achieve what I have? Man, I don't even know how I got here. Like it has almost nothing to do with me, but I will tell you like my philosophy on this world nowadays, if this makes sense. I used to look at life as being this way overcomplicated chess match, where it's like, if I did this, what would happen, and how would I end up, and what will they do in return, and like everything in my life, I was thinking it through, and it was too much. The way I approach my life today is, man, I just bring God into it, and I simply show up and play checkers. I do whatever's in front of me to be done. I just make a little jump to the best of my ability, knowing it's going to be imperfect. But I'm going to try. And what I've found in my life is that's enough. So in like my morning prayers and meditation, I always ask for an opportunity to try to help God's kids in the day. And I find that when I have an opportunity to be of some level of service, where I can get out of me, I end up having a beautiful day. Period. And so that's kind of the most practical thing. Like I can maybe explain, like I've got a job today that's outside of my, like, can't believe I have this amazing job. I get to work in treatment. And the way I got this job is one morning I was thinking, man, I need to be of service. Maybe I'll go share my story at a treatment center because it's COVID and these guys can't get out. Shared my story, and a couple weeks later they called me and said, hey, you want to work here? And I thought, man, I'm talking about being a junkie and an alcoholic and how I haven't been around for my kids and how I've lost all these jobs, and you want to hire me? Like that, to me, that doesn't have much to do with me. It's just willing to show up and just simply playing checkers, man. And I got this life that I just can't believe.
Love it. You want to amen that, Tyson?
Yeah, definitely an amen. I agree with everything that you said. It's exactly what I was thinking, what I've thought for a long time. And the first thing is that, like, a lot of people are like, good job, man. And for the longest time, I had a difficult time taking that. Because what's happened to me is so outside of me, like I said. So they're like, good job, man. And I'm like, because it ain't me. You know, like a portion of me didn't get me here. God got me here. 100%. Right? And now I've learned to take a little bit of that good job. Because I've had to do the footwork. And I'll have to continue to do the footwork the rest of my life. It's just gotten easier. Right? The second thing is I've thought that since my spiritual awakening. My whole life I made everything so complex, especially this God. Right? It was so complex that I would never understand it. And I wasn't comfortable with that because I didn't know what it was. You know, and now I don't do that. I could never fathom what God truly is. Right? And that's okay for me. My life is simple. Right? I have habits that are healthy, that I'm turning back to practicing so I can stay in the conscious flow. That's the whole goal for me, is to stay conscious throughout the day as much as possible. Because the longer I'm conscious, the more connected I am with God and everybody else and everything else. So, yeah.
Love it. Hey, well, there's some questions on Facebook that we can address or answer.
You can ask them. Pull it out of them.
All right, there's a couple. Okay, so anybody who's on Facebook, type in your question. We'll pick them and we'll go. Ty.
My question for probably John. How did you deal with like all the shame from like causing the wreckage with your family and all that stuff?
Yeah, that was heavy, man. And I remember.
So real quick, are you talking about family grew up with or family started?
Probably both.
Both, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In general.
Like, so for me, here's the way it worked for me, is even like even with all the education that I had had, that I obviously couldn't put to use, like it didn't fix anything, I still thought, I could see someone else struggling and thought, man, they probably had this disease. But for me, at the time, I didn't think I had it because I knew better. Like I knew what I should be doing, I just couldn't do it. So I knew better, but I couldn't do better at the time. When I finally got to a point where I realized, like, through steps, like step 1, that I am powerless, that my life is unmanageable, that I have the same disease everyone else has, there would be a lot of things that, like a lot of memories would come up. I missed a lot of my kids' birthdays, bro. The last 2 or 3 Christmases before I got sober, I spent almost the entire Christmas in the basement sobbing, swearing I'd never do it again. And I just kept doing it again. And I had a lot of shame from that. But I had this thought that came to me is like, and it's the whole antidote for shame, which is empathy, which is what we get in these rooms. It's like I heard other people do that. And so the thought came to me, you know what? We do that when we're in our disease. Not I do that. No, I'm not the only one who's done that. We do that. And then the thought that followed that every time was, thank God I don't need to do that today. And that was enough to get me started and to get me through it. And then what I found with the shame is, like, once I started getting open and honest with people, I was so worried about how it would be perceived, where now I've like done talks at church and like all these things about this kind of stuff that I never thought I'd ever do. Like, people are just welcoming it with open arms. Like, I'm realizing that a lot of the shame that I felt was kind of self-imposed because I thought I was so unique that I was the only person who struggled that way. But, you know, when we do this, we do it when we're in our disease. And then it was just simply, man, thank God I don't have to do that today. And that went pretty far with me. Like, it got me through the first couple of months, which were really heavy.
That's what created momentum for you.
Yeah, momentum. Yeah. Does that answer it?
Yeah, no, I think what really resonated for me was the, something I'm struggling with, and you're like, logically I knew better, but like I couldn't do better. That's something that I like really relate with, because I tell myself that all the time, like, oh, I know better, so like,
yeah,
but I couldn't do better.
For sure that.
One thing so tell me a little bit about that time when drinking felt like coming home.
Oh, when I was younger.
What have you learned about you from that?
Well, so what I've learned about me from that is that I hate to admit this, but I'm like a really sensitive guy. Like, I don't do well when I get teased. Like, I'm a sensitive guy. And I took all the emotions and everything that was going on, and I internalized everything. And the drinking and the OxyContin and everything else, what it did for me is quieted the noise. And I felt like there was so much noise on knowing better but not doing better. And then what it became was this progressive cycle where I couldn't stop it. And
did you want to? I mean, it felt so much better in certain ways.
It felt better, but like the better was, it never lasted, and you woke up with the darkness.
Yeah.
And I started using to get out of the darkness. And then for me, I got to a point where I couldn't get back to zero. I could get my body and my mind as high or drunk as humanly possible. I could get my body just drunk, but my mind was still in agony. I couldn't stop the noise. And it stopped working for me. But at that point, I didn't know how to stop it.
I've observed that so often our gifts, so your gift to be sensitive to other people's emotions or situations and read people like that, when we're younger, if we don't understand what that's a gift, and it becomes this curse.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder no wonder. Because to quiet that down and not feel so much at that time, that was what came up for you. But when you say like I don't like being sensitive, I'm not picking that up at all. I'm thinking like you love that about yourself now.
Well, now,
Yeah.
now I can embrace who I am. Like I didn't like to admit that I'm a sensitive guy, but man, I used to spend so much time thinking about what you were thinking about me.
So
And it's like, I mean,
I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what you think you think I am.
exactly.
Exactly.
And it's like today I don't have to do that. Today I just get to show up.
What a
And
relief.
it's liberating.
Yeah. Love that. Great question, Ty.
Thank you.
Nicolasi.
I thought I overheard you say when we were setting up that you had a picture of yourself.
Oh yeah, you want to see it?
Yeah.
For sure that. So I call this picture this guy. So this guy, it was after detox, in day one sober.
Yeah, walk up a little closer.
Yeah, day one sober, after detox. And I remember when the picture was taken, because I remember thinking, damn, John, you're back. Like your wife's a lucky woman, she's got all this. Like I could not see it. Like that's literally what this guy was thinking. And so what works for me is I have this picture on my phone, so sometimes I'll say, hey, I need to go to a meeting. And my wife will say, really, another AA meeting? And then I'm like, you want to see this guy again? Like, so I got a lot of respect for this guy.
Yeah.
Because this guy actually survived a lot. But like, back to the shame thing, like, thank God I don't have to be this guy today. But yeah, that's the picture.
What do you do to become a person of value in your relationship?
Which
Like,
relationship?
What do you do to become like really hard to replace for your family and for your wife?
I love them. Like, and I'm on their time. So I maybe the way to answer this is with an experience. I just got back, like, so no, I don't spray tan, and I've never been to a tanning bed, not since high school. But I just got back from Mexico, and I graduated high school in '92, so I'm 46, so it's been a long time. But I just got back from Mexico with my family. We spent a whole week in Mexico. My son's 20. My twins are 17 and a 12-year-old. And it was the first time I was ever sober on a family vacation.
Over a holiday?
Well, just period. And thank you. And I was present. I was in the moment, and we were going to the Puerto Vallarta airport, and I just thought, man, there wasn't a single minute of the last week that I would have changed. Like for me, it was just perfect because I got to be there. So the funny thing for me is you ask what I do for my family, and I'll tell you. What I do for families, I put my recovery first. In my life, my sobriety is the most important thing in my life. The most important thing. And the funny thing is that when my sobriety comes first, my wife's convinced she's the most important thing. My kids think they're all that matters for me. My job somehow thinks I'm all in. And I'm just a dude trying to stay sober.
They're all second.
Yeah, but when I stay sober, I get all of that.
Right.
So that's part of being sober for me. So what I do for them, I stay sober.
That's true. You're a fun dad? Over this like Puerto Vallarta?
I thought I was. I don't know what they'd say, but
Did you jump in the pool with the kids?
yeah, I jumped in the pool with the kids. Yeah.
Kids, like, you don't remember, like, you remember your parents, like, going to the swimming pool, like, with you, but what you remember is when they jump in the water with you.
Yeah, I was in the water.
That's what you remember. And so, they remember dad skating. They don't remember how gawky he was, or lanky, or the pizza, but they remember his dad was skating with a big smile on his face, and he was all in. That's what we remember. Yeah? Ryan? You have this gift to connect all of us powerfully. What do you want to, like, what can you ask? What do you want to draw? What do you want to make sure that happens in this engagement?
I mean, both these guys are spiritual heroes of mine. Like I mean, I've danced under the moon with Tyson, without judgment. I check in with John on a regular basis to keep myself centered. My question, like I'm super spiritual until something happens, like anything. I'm in like I get super spiritual and I'm like, nobody move in my house. Like my kids, like, put the glue down and everyone stay calm. I'm trying to stay spiritual here. Like, and I wonder how you guys, because I see you guys, like you're walking through the chaos of the world and you're walking through it with a calmness and a spiritual. How do you stay there? Like you guys seem like you live there. I feel like I visit a lot, you know, and I want to live there as much as possible. And you guys seem like you do. You're staying spiritual within the chaos. What do you do when it's crazy and when somebody's being unspiritual at you? How do you not snap? How do you stay spiritual in the chaos?
That is, you've got this spiritual quality about you, and then life is as it is, and it happens as it happens. And then part of life is to knock you off of your spiritual center. How, John, Tyson, do you make yourself one of those dolls that gets knocked over, but you're always kind of coming back, right, Ryan? Yeah.
Well, so for the first part, as I said earlier, so stresses of the past, anxieties of the future, right? If you're in either of those, you're outside of yourself, right? So that goes back to the whole self-awareness thing. What are the techniques that I can do to be more self-aware throughout every moment of the day so I can be connected to myself and God, right? So that has been a continual practice. And one of the things I said earlier is I'm learning how to take habits and turn them back to practices, right? I've gotten into the routine of doing things the way that they are, and because I've done that, it's getting me outside of myself. So I have to continuously level up, and that means finding new techniques, one-upping something that I'm doing, right? When something's happening in my life that isn't in alignment with me, the only choice that I have, if I don't want to go over here, is to find my present moment, right? Because there may be something that just went on a second ago, but it's literally a second ago. It's done, right? And you have to leave that there. If you're in the present moment, 99% of the time the present moment is good. That one second is good, right? And that's the only thing that you have to worry about is that 1 second. So yeah.
I wish I could do that. I think I'm more of a shit show. I don't think I'm an overly spiritual guy. I think that I'm more messed up than most of the people in this room. That my head is more messed up, and that I just really need God in my life so that I can function normally. Some of the things I do goes back to just some of the stuff my sponsor told me. My first sponsor told me that every morning spend 30 minutes in prayer and meditation. And he said, unless you have a really busy day, and it's going to be crazy. He goes, then spend an hour. And I thought the busy day meant I got out of it. But for for the past 3 years, I've been doing every morning. So I try to start my day that way to the best of my ability. It's not perfect, but I've got things I read, I connect, and I'll tell you why I do it. So, and this used to happen all the time, but I used to wake up and it was a really unfriendly conversation before I even opened my eyes. It was my head's kind of chewing on me already, and it's damn, dude, glad you're awake. We've been talking about you. No need to even get out of bed today. And that's how it would always start. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, what's going to happen?
You can identify with that, by the way.
Yeah. And so what happens for me, the way I do it is I go to I've got a couple daily meditations that I read in the morning, which is simply to get my head out of me and thinking on something else so that I can try to connect. And then I connect, and then, you know, I'm weird, man. Like, I'll turn off the radio and talk to God as I'm driving. Like, I find that, like, however I can reach out, man, he just, like, again, God could and would if he were sought. My job is not to define him, my job not to uncover him, but my job is to just be willing to seek. And if I'm willing to seek, he shows up only every time.
You know where I'm going to go with you, Ryan? I'm going to validate you. What you heard there is surrender. Surrender, open to what like feels good, and you go there. You surrender. So I'm going to validate you, man. You are already doing it in like such a powerful way, you don't even see it. Like, or you see it, but it's like this out of body experience. I'm going to validate you, man. Like, you're already doing it. You are not the same person you were just a year ago, like by a million miles, especially spiritually. And you just follow your guidance. It will never do you wrong. You're welcome.
So I'm Austin. I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I came for John because John actually was in my recovery program called RJU. If anyone's heard that, there's a few people that are here from that. But I guess my question is to you is where I see a sort of a struggle sometimes when I'm in recovery, because you know we're doing the best that we can do for ourselves and for ourselves, and nobody can else, right? Where do you go when, let's say, a situation comes up and says, "Hey, John," or you know, what's your name again? Tyson. Family, your wife, for instance, say, you know, "Are you doing okay? You seem off today, right?" How do you go about? Because I struggled with this actually just a week ago, right? I know I'm sober. I know I'm doing my best for me and nobody else. But when you hear from someone say, you know, "You're off today. You don't look, you're just off," right? But they're thinking that I've relapsed, right? And I know I haven't. How do you manage to go about to say when those times come up of where do you go? Like, how do you, like, where do you go?
So with my wife, we did this song and dance of no, I haven't used anything for like 10 years, like on and off. Like, it was a disaster. So of course her first way of thinking is like, man, he's trying to get something over here. I had to allow her to have that. Like, and my job wasn't to talk about it. My job was just to show up and do the damn deal, like to just shut my mouth and get to work. And then what I would do with my wife, because sometimes, like, I'm married, so it's like, it's not always easy, especially 23 years now, like, it's not easy. But when I was super bugged at my wife, like, the way I'd get around it is I'd ask her if there was something I could do to help her, like service-wise. And so invariably, I'd always be vacuuming the living room floor. Like, I probably vacuumed it 3 times a day for the first 3 months, it felt like. But by the time I was done vacuuming it, I was no longer bugged. And I was okay, and just me doing the deal was enough to change, like, her perspective. I remember one time I was maybe 6 months sober, and I was talking to my sponsor, and I was talking about how I felt like my wife was picking on me, and couldn't believe like how rude she was. And so I went off for like 5 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, what do you think? And I was waiting for him to go off. And he looked at me and he goes, "When's the last time you bought her flowers?" And I looked at him and I said, "I guess today." And I'm going to tell you, by the time I had the flowers at Costco, I wasn't bugged at her anymore. And he said, "I need you to go home. I need you to put them on the table and get the hell out of the house. I don't want you taking credit for it. I don't want you looking like a good guy. You just need to do something nice for her and get away." And so for me, once I got out of me, once I just did some simple, small, little steps to be of service, like all of that stuff started to go away quickly. I don't know if that answers it.
So real quick, Austin, I want you to stand up, man. So let me ask you a question. So I want you, like, here's my gift I want to give you, like, love. I love you all the way, man. No matter what, no judgment, okay? So here's my question for you. Does that trigger you when somebody's like, "Hey, you look off today"? Do you like, "You keep on asking me that, I will be off today. Like, we're going to have some, like," does that trigger you?
Yeah, because I think in recovery, because we can instantly, people that are in recovery can fall back that quick. And it's done it to me. I haven't relapsed since being in recovery, But that triggers in your brain to thinking, well, fuck, if you're thinking I'm drunk or I've had a drink or I've had dope or whatever,
Might as well.
for
Yep.
you to hell.
Yep.
So, that's where I struggle sometimes, but I know that I'm a better person and I know I can't go back to that because I've outdied from it. So I know where my life will go. But it bothers me to know when your mother or your father or brother or sister, whoever it is in your family, says, I think something's wrong, like something's just wrong. And that
So-
mentally fucks with your brain because you know that you're not, but you might as well do it because they assume that you're doing it. So that's where I think there's a lot of struggles for us to recover because it's not easy. But we are somebody. And no matter everyone here, we're somebody and we're doing it for ourselves, right? And so that's where I think a struggle is in recovery is when you get those past things that come up in the past of like, you're off, Austin. You've been drinking today? No.
Okay, so I got that. Now, based on what he said, what can you do different to get a different experience?
Just tell me I'm sorry if you think that, that you think that, but I know who I am today and I'm sober.
I think you work the steps, man. I think when you work the steps, like that stuff resolves, and I think the other part to that is in step 10 of the 12 by 12. It says it is a spiritual axiom that whenever we are disturbed, no matter what the cause, there's something wrong with us. Which means that if I'm disturbed, it's not something on the outside that got me upset. I need to look inside, bring God in and figure out how to fix that, because that also implies that with God's help, I've got the power to get myself undisturbed, which means I don't need people to treat me a certain way. And I only got that from working the steps. I only got that from, and the beautiful part about the steps, man, is that you're never done with them. You just do them and you do them again. And it's what I found, and I'm not totally trying to put a 12-step, well, no, I am. I'll
Go
just,
for it. Bring it.
like what I found with the 12 steps, man, is it's a path to freedom for me. And it's like, how free do you want to be? Like, keep working them, and you get another path to freedom. And I get to walk this earth a free man today. I went to Mexico. I didn't think of having a drink once. I saw it. I wasn't fighting it. I wasn't tempted. I wasn't avoiding it. I was just a part of this world. That's not something I do. That was because I was willing to work the steps. So I think therein you find the answers.
Freedom. So before Tyson responds, how open are you to feedback to people close to you in your life?
100% now, before I shut them out.
So one way to apply what he's saying is hey, what about me says that I'm off? Because I want to know. Because I'm giving everything I can and I'm not seeing something that you are. I love you, you love me. What are you seeing? And if you can flip it like that as something that's empowering now instead of disempowering, you won't even think about using excuses. You'd be like, oh, I feel more powerful now because I was willing to give a little away and they're giving me a little feedback. Hey, all right, so when I look at you like this, you think I'm angry. Okay, I won't look at you that way. And you can now build that trust with somebody else and they get a chance to build trust back with you. And that's what you really want anyway, what people you care about anyway. Tyson?
Yeah, two things come to mind when you asked that. And it was intention and ego. Okay? So it is not my responsibility to understand at all why somebody is the way that they are or understand deeply of why they're asking me that. I'm sure that it comes from a loving part of them, but that's not for you to decide, right? So when the intention is crippled and it's not in line, and then you have the ego that's sitting there, it's going to start your brain automatically, and then you're going to go down a path that isn't realistic, I'm sure, right? And start going to all these reasons why they're asking you, and what is really wrong with me, and whatever else that it is that where your brain is taking you, right? And the way that you can put your ego and your intentions in check is your higher power. Right? That higher power, that sense of self, that alignment will keep you out of ego and keep your intentions pure and your intentions yours. Right? It's not for you to decide why they're asking, although it is out of love.
Love that.
I've got a little saying that I heard early on, and it made a lot of sense to me. Whenever I thought I was getting picked on, And it was a guy who introduced himself one time. He said, "Hi, my name's Self-Pity and I'm a victim." And I thought, holy crap, that is me. Like when I think I'm getting picked on, I think I'm the victim of other people, and suddenly I'm in self-pity, and I know self-pity is going to kill me. So I've got to switch that quickly. Anyways, go
Love
ahead.
that. No,
Yeah.
that was great. Thank you. Last question, and then I have one more
It's more of
thing.
a statement than a question.
Bring it.
Those people that you're getting pissed at and you're feeling bad about, how many times have you wronged them? How many times have you been that fucked up guy? Trust is one of those things that's freely given, but once taken away, it's really hard to earn. I've been sober almost 34 years, and I've been married 45. And my wife still asks me if I need a meeting. So, you know, just keep working at it. That's not going to control who and what you are. The steps, God, these people, these rooms, that's what is going to control who you are. Doesn't matter what anybody thinks. What matters is what you are.
And that's exactly how it is. I know, for me, no one will take my power away because I'm doing me. You know, you may have, you know, how you're saying, your own voice and opinions, and I'm thankful and I'm grateful for those voices. Because how would I know that I did something just like you said? I don't know. Maybe if I slipped up or did something out of the norm that they're not used to seeing, right? It still mentally screws you and it fucks with you.
It don't have to.
No
And I know
more.
it doesn't have to, and I know it does let me, but I try not to let me, you know? So I walk away from those kind of situations, because I don't want confrontation, I don't want stuff.
So one last thing for that, right? And this is just something that I kind of have absorbed in my life and lived by. There's a 1800s writer, Thomas Paine, and one of the things he says is reputation is what men and women think of you, and character is what God and angels know of you. Just carry that with you now.
One last question. I'll bring it home. How do you like make your body now work for you where it used to work against you?
Make my what?
How do you like make your body now work for you where it used to like work against you? So cravings, fit, like how do you like make this, how do you have this instrument now help you become a better person instead of like working against you?
Well, I believe that what we have is a disease of body, mind, and spirit. And so for me, COVID actually came in really clutch because I had to work from home. I couldn't go to meetings. I started running. I started doing other things to get more active. And so it works for me, but it's one of those things where I think there's just a flow to all of it. And it's like the triangle is body, mind, and spirit. It comes together as a whole human being. And so I need to make sure that I'm eating healthy. I mean, make sure that I'm exercising. I need to make sure that, you know, I'm feeding my mind. And I need to make sure I'm spiritually fed. And when I do those three things, like you get placed in this position of neutrality where you're safe. And for me, that's just kind of been I get a lot of peace that way. I don't know if that answers your question. I think I know where you're...
Eating well, exercise, like getting out, it's your body now becomes something that works for you instead of against you. Yeah, Tyson?
I would agree 100%. It's keeping, and I've brought this up over and over, it's alignment, right? And that means alignment with my spirit, alignment with my brain, and alignment with my body. And that alignment has enabled me, I smoked from 12 years old on. I'm 32. I never even thought about quitting. This alignment has not only gotten rid of obsessions of drugs and other bad things in my life, I was able to, just like smoking. You know, I quit smoking and it was one of the easiest things I've done. I just stopped. Because it's not in alignment with me no more. Right? If you're not in alignment, nothing around you is going to be in alignment with you. You know, it'll be hard to do anything at that point. So yeah, it's alignment, I would agree.
Okay, everyone just grab your hands right here. We're not going to clap. Not yet. No. Now take a deep breath. I want you to think about something you can take away from this event. Like what's something that you can make your own. It's going to be okay. You're going to make it. You're going to figure it out. You're going to win. Like let that in. And as you like exhale, stand up and give you guys a big round of applause.